Hey everybody, hope you had a great weekend. I'm Rami Cowboy, and I'm going to be bringing you the best, worst, and weirdest Nintendo news from GoNintendo.com. I'm also going to bring a story that you guys really downvoted for the day. Before we get into all that negativity, I'd love to give you an update on where our official intro is. It's not completed yet, but we have another look at how it's progressed since the last time we showed you. So take a look at this. I'm very excited to see that finished intro. We should be getting that fairly soon. It might even be ready tomorrow. So hopefully you enjoy that. Leave a comment, let us know what you think. And while you're doing that, I'm going to bring you the best story, in my opinion, for May 7th. Did you enjoy Resident Evil Revelations on the 3DS? I personally thought it was one of the best Resident Evil games in a long time. A very good mix of old school and new style Resident Evil. I liked it a lot more than Resident Evil 5 actually, but that might just be me. But according to what you guys voted on the story, it seems like you're interested in this rumor. We have a rumor that pertains to Capcom actually creating another Resident Evil game for the 3DS, and it's due out before the year closes. Now keep in mind, this is a rumor. Here are the details we have so far. As I said, it's due out at the end of the year. It's going to contain Degeneration and Damnation, which are the CG movies that Capcom has done for Resident Evil, and those movies are going to be presented in 3D. The new title is supposedly called Resident Evil Downfall, and that's because you play as Claire Redfield as she witnesses the downfall of humanity, and it's going to take place between the events of Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6. We know that Capcom and Nintendo are thick as thieves lately. They love working together on projects, so something like this rumor isn't that hard to believe. It would make for a great E3 announcement as well, so keep your fingers crossed. Not confirmed, but definitely plausible. The worst story of the day actually serves two purposes. I found it to be the worst story of the day, and when I looked at the ratings on stories, turns out you guys gave it a -23, which is the worst rated story of the day. So you and I both agree on what we found to be the worst of the day. It actually relates to a Yahoo article about Nintendo's stance in the market right now. As we've talked about in the past on this show, Nintendo has reported their fiscal year information, and that came with a loss, which is the first loss Nintendo's seen in over 30 years. And a lot of people are saying that, Nintendo's gonna die, what we usually hear every time this kind of information comes up. But the true fans and the people that actually follow the stories know that Nintendo A, lost some money because the 3DS didn't do as well as they wanted it to, the Wii is declining, but most importantly, Nintendo cut the price of the 3DS, which means they willingly took on a lot of that loss. People forget to make note of that. Yahoo decided to ignore all of those facts and came up with 4 of their own ideas as to why Nintendo lost money this year. What did I say? Well, first off, they suggest that smartphones and tablets are taking over. They say that Microsoft and Sony are slowing sales of the Wii, so that's kind of in line. It's true that Wii sales are slowing. I don't know that that's Microsoft or Sony's fault, but they're slowing down. They also say Nintendo doesn't allow other devices to use its brands, which we've heard Nintendo say multiple times, and we've even talked about it on the show before. Nintendo is not going to put out their games on other systems or other platforms. If they do that, they're going to close up shop. They want their brands to stay on their systems, which makes sense to me, and it's how Nintendo has made all its money over these years, so you would think analysts and other agencies would realize that, but I guess not. Finally, they say Nintendo hasn't linked up to its own devices, and what they mean by that is you can't play a game on the Wii and then drop it down to the 3DS and continue it there, or vice versa. I thought that made sense for the majority of games because the games on 3DS and Wii are different. Why would I want to buy a portable and play the same games that I play on my console? I want different experiences that utilize what each platform does best. I'm not saying we won't see that type of thing happen with the 3DS and the Wii U, but I wouldn't expect it to be the main focus of both platforms. It just doesn't make sense. Why buy both when you can get the experiences out of one? You guys actually had some interesting and inventive comments for this section. As I said, you rated it a -23, so that makes it the worst story of the day in your eyes, which is why I'm reading your comments for it. First comment comes from Master of Monster, and he gives a point-by-point response to the 4 points that Yahoo gave. So Yahoo says, number 1, smartphones and tablets are taking over. He says, nah. Number 2, Microsoft and Sony are slowing the sales of Wii. Master of Monster says, not sure. Number 3, Nintendo doesn't allow other devices to use its brands. He says, pfft. And number 4, Nintendo hasn't linked up its own devices. Master of Monster says, well. Overall, he gives the Yahoo article a meh. Reader GTT has the next comment, and he comes up with 4 of his own points as to why Nintendo isn't doing so hot lately. Number 1 is hubris. Number 2 is you can't depend on a casual gamer. Number 3 is people can't buy your stuff if you don't put your stuff out. I kind of agree with that one. It's hard to buy games when Nintendo won't localize them. And number 4 is poor treatment of the digital space. This is something I would also agree with. I wouldn't say it's the main reason why Nintendo is losing money, but I will say it's something Nintendo needs to get better at. And if we're to believe recent discussions from Iwata, Nintendo is working on that, and they have plans for digital and retail day one releases, which is a big step for Nintendo, so I'm hopeful that their digital push is going to turn around. Our weird story of the day is probably the weirdest one we've had so far. I can't even believe it's real. Believe it or not, the original singer of the Pokemon anime theme song, the North American version of the song, was contacted to do a Ron Paul version of the song. So the Pokemon theme song, but all about Ron Paul. And he actually sang it. I don't know what else to say other than to play you a snippet and tell you that you absolutely have to watch the whole thing. It's really surreal.
He will travel across the land, searching far and wide. Each delegate to understand the power that's inside. It's you and me. I know it's your destiny.
There you go, guys. That's your best, worst, and weirdest for May 7th, including comments from you guys, and we think alike today. Hope you had a great time watching the show. Please subscribe and rate and Facebook and all the stuff I tell you every week. I really appreciate it. And I'll leave you with this little gem. Let's move on from the best to the worst story, which actually serves 2 purposes today. Not only did I find it to be the best. And number 4, he says, poor treatment of the digital space, which is one I'll agree with. I wouldn't say it's a reason why Nintendo declined, but I will say that Nintendo hasn't embraced the digital space like we want them to. But as we're hearing from Iwata now from recent fiscal... Damn it. They haven't been treating the digital space all that well on the Wii and the DS, but we're seeing that change on the 3DS, and recent discussions with Iwata have noted that Nintendo's looking to make big strides in the digital